And welcome back. This is an extra optional video that I am providing for anybody who is new to ancient Greek geography. So what I'm about to talk about in this video is not actually required for the course itself in terms of passing it, trying obviously to get as high a grade as possible. However, since there are going to be times in the course when I refer to geographic locations within Greece, it seemed to me that it might be helpful for me to walk you through the map that is included in your course materials so that you have some idea of where to find items. As I go through those, I can also mention some of the historic events that we're going to talk about later. You're welcome always to come back to this video as many times as you need to in order to make the correlation between the geographic locations and the historic events or mythological events that I referred to. So I do not promise that this will be comprehensive and that we'll cover every single thing that I might talk about in this course, but I will at least hit some of the highlights that are going to be of help, and hopefully this will give you a good head start for navigating the geography of ancient Greece. Please, I do realize that place names can be very intimidating. Don't panic with all the place names. I will help you out with them as much as I can here, and I'll at least give you a head start for being able to use the map on your own. Okay, the first thing is I would like you to pause your video and please locate in your Sakai resources the map. The map is also attached to the schedule. So please pause your video and open up the map that's called Map of Ancient Greece. When you open it, you should see a map that is blue and yellow, and it prominently displays the Greek world and the Aegean Sea. Please pause your video and open the Map of Ancient Greece. Okay, do you have the map open? All right, let me walk you sort of in a circle around the map to show you some of the important locations. First of all, I would like to start you off dead center in the middle. You should be able to find the city of Athens right on the central line of latitude. Please take a moment and look for the city of Athens. Okay, have you found that? Now I'm going to use the city of Athens as a central location in order to guide you around the map for the other locations that may count. So first of all, the sea that you are looking at is the Aegean Sea, which is one of the inland seas that forms part of the much larger Mediterranean Sea. At some point, you may want to just review a map so that you can see how the Aegean Sea and the Greek world relates to the Mediterranean Sea at large. So Greece is the country on the left side, which is also Greece today. The country on the right side is now Turkey, but at that time it was called Asia Minor or Anatolia. You will sometimes hear me refer to the west coast of Asia Minor. You can see cities there such as Miletus, Ephesus, Arginusae, Sardis, and Cape Mycale. Those are all locations that do play a prominent role in either mythology or history in the Greek world. Again, you may not necessarily hear them all the time, but just be aware of where they are so that when we refer to them at some time, you will be able to follow along. Next, I'm going to take you over to the Greek world itself and find you some of the major cities. Now I realize that there's a lot of names there rather cluttered in place, so just go very slowly with me and I will walk you through what we have. I'm actually going to start from the south side, which I think is a bit easier, and walk you up north to find the locations. First of all, the peninsula that you see there that looks kind of like a man's hand is called the Peloponnese. It's written for you there on the map. In the southern part of that peninsula is Sparta. Please take a moment to locate Sparta. Sparta is the chief opponent of the Athenians, especially during the Peloponnesian War that we will describe in the fourth week of this course. The Peloponnesian War was the major conflict between Athens and Sparta, 431 to 404 BC. So make sure that you are aware of where Sparta is. To the west of Sparta is an area called Messene, and to the west of that is Pylos, Sphacteria, and also Mount Athome. Those are locations that may show up later in our discussions Sphacteria is in fact an island that will matter in one very important battle that happens during the Peloponnesian War. If you go up north, you will see Argos and Mycenae, which are important when you later read the tragic plays of Aeschylus. Then from there to the west, you can see Mantinea, and further west, Olympia and Elis. Olympia is, of course, where the Olympic Games were celebrated starting in 776 BC. If you continue further west than that and go up a little bit northwest, you will find the island of Ithaca. It's a little bit small, but take a moment to find it. It's northeast of Cephallenia. Ithaca, of course, is where Odysseus lived, and Odysseus was the main hero of the Trojan War, the one who helped craft the Trojan horse that helped bring the city down. If you go further west than that, you come to another island that's called Corcyra. Today it's the island of Corfu. You'll notice that it's right on the edge of the map. Okay, coming back now to the Peloponnesian Peninsula. Go back to where Argos was. To the east of Argos, that is to the right, you'll see a city called Troisdon. And then going up north of Argos, you'll see Corinth. To the east of Corinth is Megara. The little strip of land in between the Peloponnesian Peninsula and the northern section of Greece is referred to as an isthmus in geography. And you'll notice the Gulf of Corinth, which is the waterway that stretches all the way from the Ionian Sea all the way into where Corinth is. On the other side, which would be south and southeast of Megara, is the Saronic Gulf. And although it's a little hard to see there, you'll notice the word Salamis, which is right below Megara. Salamis is that major island that's directly west of Athens. Now, continuing north of Athens, northeast is Marathon, which is where a major battle occurred between the Athenians and the Persians in 490 BC. We'll have more about that later. Then when you go further north and northwest, you come to two cities, Thebes and Plataea. Thebes is the major city in this region that is known as Boeotia, B-O-E-O-T-I-A, Boeotia. And you'll notice also that Athens is in an area that's called Attica. It's written there in gray. So Athens was in charge of Attica, and Thebes was in charge of Boeotia. Right south of Thebes is a city called Plataea. Plataea was an ally of Athens, but located very close to Thebes. Plataea, unfortunately, got rather caught in the middle between them and eventually got destroyed by the Thebans, a very unfortunate thing. And further north than Thebes, northeast, is a place called Delium. And I will just tell you right now that Delium is a name that became very dirty with the Athenians. It was a very unfortunate occurrence. Going further west from Thebes is Coronea. And if you continue northwest of that, you pass Delphi, which is right along Mount Parnassus. And north of that is Thermopylae. And Thermopylae you may possibly have heard of in the movie 300. That is where the famous battle happened between the Spartans and the Persians in 480 BC. King Leonidas was in charge of the Spartans. As you remember, Gerard Butler, the actor, in 300. If you go east of Thermopylae, you come to Cape Artemisium, and you notice that Cape Artemisium is on the very, very northern point of that long island that's called Euboea, E-U-B-O-E-A, Euboea, okay? Continuing up north, you come to Mount Olympus, which is the highest part in Greece, and then go east of Mount Olympus, but staying on the land, and you have Chalcidice. Now, you'll observe that north of Mount Olympus is Macedon. That is where Philip and Alexander the Great, after him, will come from. Chalcidice has several places of note. Mount Athos on the far east section is a mountain with a very difficult area to navigate for storms. And in fact, there was a major storm that's depicted in the movie 300 that destroyed a lot of Persian ships under Xerxes' command when he tried to make his invasion of Greece. Directly south of Chalcidice, where you see Olympus, south of that is Potidaea. Potidaea is another important city that is allied with Athens, but has an important dispute that happens with Athens at one critical point. If you go north of Chalcidice, you have Amphipolis and Eion, which are two other allies of Athens that also play a very important role in the big combat, the Peloponnesian War. Then you have two islands, Thasos and Lemnos. Those are east of Chalkidiki. Thasos is near the north, and Lemnos is somewhat southeast of that. And those two islands, again, have a very important role in the Peloponnesian War. Going over further east, you have the Hellespont, which is the strait of water that runs between Asia Minor and the Chersonesus Peninsula. You'll notice a place called Aegospotamos on the Chersonesus Peninsula, which is opposite that other city called Abydos. Aegospotamos is actually the final battle in the Peloponnesian War, the one that would eventually bring Athens to defeat against Sparta. And the Hellespont region is incidentally where Troy originally would have stood, and you can even see Troas, which is actually the plain where Troy originally would have stood before it was destroyed in the Trojan War. The Hellespont Strait, by the way, is the one that geographically separates Europe from Asia, and that is the one that famously Xerxes, the Persian king, would have had to cross, and he attempted 3 times to build a bridge to go across the Hellespont, and eventually had to resort to rather unusual means to finally get that bridge built. It was believed that his effort to build that bridge was actually an act of hubris, or over wanton behavior, that ultimately led to his tragedy against the Greeks in 480 BC. Going further south, there are 3 islands you should pay attention to. Immediately south of Troas is the island of Lesbos, and you'll notice that Lesbos is in a region called Aeolus. That's written directly below the island of Lesbos. And then there's also that city called Arginusae. Those are actually islands that, again, have a very important role in the Peloponnesian War. Lesbos, further south, Chios, which is in Ionia. You can see that written there. And then further southeast, Samos, are the 3 major islands that were the wealthiest and most important of the allies of Athens. And all 3 of them would, at some point or another, give the Athenians a lot of trouble as allies. And then the entire stretch of islands that you see there in the central Aegean Sea are known as the Cyclades. You'll notice Thera, the volcanic island that is at the very bottom of the Cyclades. Further east, southeast is Rhodes, which is where the famous Colossus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, would have stood. And again, I need to direct your attention to Miletus, which is in Caria. That's in the southern part of Asia Minor. You can find Miletus on the east side of the map, but a little bit south of the center. And finally, let's conclude with Crete, which is the large island at the bottom, where Minoan civilization would have been. Minoan civilization is much older than any of the other times and places we have been talking about. And Knossos, there on the northern coast, is the location which is believed to have been where Minos' palace stood, and also where the labyrinth can be found in which the Minotaur dwelt until it was eventually slaughtered by the Athenian hero Theseus. Well, that gives you a basic run-through of the major locations. The places I would especially urge you really get to know are Athens itself, where we started, Thebes to its northwest, one of its enemies, Megara to its west, that is Athens' west, Corinth to Megara's west. Again, these 2 eventually become enemies of Athens. And then south of Corinth is Argos, which is a major city that tends to switch alliances a lot. And then finally, further south than Argos is Sparta. Those are the ones that will give you the best start for navigating the geography. And then from time to time, when we refer to other locations, you'll be able to come back to this map. As always, if you have any questions at all about anything that we've talked about here on the map, please feel free to contact me here on Sakai or by email, and I'll give you more information as we need it. Well, thank you very much for taking the extra time to walk through the map. I hope that this was helpful, and let's now get into Greek mythology. Thank you.